I'm really excited to see you all here. My name is Jonathan Nolan. I am the Director of Developer Relations at Atlassian, and I could not be more excited to have all of you here for our very first Atlas Camp in Europe. So throughout these 2 days, if you have any problems or any questions, please feel free to find an Atlassian in one of these green shirts or find me, and I'll do my best to help you out. I've got a couple of logistical announcements before we get started into the program. So as with every Atlas Camp, we're running a session of lightning talks tomorrow. That is your opportunity to spend 5 minutes telling the entire crowd about something cool that you're working on. The subject matter is completely open, and you should feel free to sign up anytime over the next 24 hours. All you need to do is Google for Atlas Camp 2012 Lightning Talks, and that'll send you right to the page where you need to sign up, or just to find an Atlassian again, and we can help you get signed up. You need a sort of a one-sentence description about what you're going to be talking about, your name, and then I'll schedule everyone and put you in order. We've got an hour and a half set aside tomorrow afternoon for you to share with your peers. It is one of my favorite parts of every Atlas Camp. Today, lunch will be downstairs in the restaurant, but during lunch, we will also be running some birds of a feather sessions about various topics that you guys hopefully will be interested in. We'll have some on plugin development, we'll have some on Jira, some on Confluence, some on Bamboo. We'll have a table set aside to talk about the marketplace, and those birds of a feather sessions will be happening in the room right across the hall. Now, there's not enough room for everybody there at the same time, so I would encourage some of you to go eat and some to ask questions at lunchtime, and then about halfway through, maybe swap out, and the other folks who haven't eaten can go downstairs and give the people who ate first a chance to come in and spend some time with your peers and with other Atlassians. And then tonight, there will be dinner and drinks after the conference, and I'll announce the details of that at the end of the day. And then if you need any other help throughout the conference, just find an Atlassian, and there's plenty of room to go get some one-on-one time and get some of your questions answered. First up today, we have our VP of Engineering, Michel Lemieux, who's going to give you an overview of what the company's been up to in the last few months. So here's Michel.
Thanks, Jonathan. Can you guys hear me? You guys actually hear me back there? Yeah? Okay. Thanks, Jonathan. So, wow, we've actually been on a road trip in Europe for the last 2 weeks. So, forgive me if my voice is a bit rusty. And we've saved the best for last. So, we've been on the road talking to customers, doing kind of sales, marketing, talking about the company. And as the VP of Engineering, this is my favorite event. So, we get to actually write a bit of code for 2 days, which is something I don't get to do as often anymore. But Atlas Camp is actually one of the original gatherings for Atlassian. So, before we had Unite and Summit, we actually had Atlas Camp as a way for a lot of Atlassians and our customers to get together and hack on code, understand what we're trying to build, and because we just love building stuff and we're really passionate about our products. So, we're just really excited about this. Now, one of the interesting things about actually traveling for the last 2 weeks in Europe is we had a project manager in Paris who was up on stage telling us how they use Jira as the backbone of his whole company and how they connect HP Quality Center into it, how they connect their time tracking system. And this is a project manager. He stood up on stage and he said, basically, the thing I remember the most about Jira that I love about it is that I was personally able to write a plugin. And he was like, that was awesome. So, knowing what it's like to write a plugin, I was a bit hesitant if that was true or not, but for him, he actually wrote a plugin and he got it deployed and he thought that was awesome. And he said he's tried to write plugins in other systems, but it's been hard. So I think that was awesome that we have a project manager thinking there's a big value in our tools that they can write plugins. So this whole conference, the next 2 days, is about writing plugins and extending our products. This is one of the conferences where we send the most developers. So we fly people up from Sydney. We fly people up from Amsterdam, where they take the train from San Francisco. So please take the opportunity to take our time as much as you like. I mean, one of the most valuable lessons of the next 2 days is to grab an Atlassian. We have these pine tree colored shirts, so we're trying to make believe we're in the woods of Wiesbaden. So definitely interrupt us. We're here to talk to you guys. If you see an Atlassian in the back on his laptop alone, go and interrupt him. I'm telling you, okay? And go pick his brain, make sure that you're trying to extract as much information as you want out of us. It turns out we're actually 400 people, 400 strong in Atlassian now. So if there's something you don't get answered today, go find us on Answers, go find us on Jira. We're a really open company. And we've got people on our engineering teams now who are dedicated ecosystem engineers who help reach out to people who are building stuff on Confluence or in Jira, and they're always there to help you. So we just don't want to stop the collaboration after today. Now, I know that Gerbans are pretty competitive. I was watching soccer downstairs in the basement here. I went up to bed, and I was still hearing cheers. So I just want to let you guys know that there's a bit of competition going on between Europe and the US now. So in the US, we've had 4 years of Atlas camps. And last year, which is our 4th year of Atlas camp, should have been the biggest. We had 100 people show up in Half Moon Bay, which was good. So we're like, it was a bit of a bet. How many people are going to show up in Germany? Should we have this in Paris, maybe Amsterdam, maybe London? And I just want to say thanks to you guys. We have 140 people here today. So you guys have beaten the US's butt. So thanks a lot. That's great. So I think the guys in the US are going to have a big challenge next year. So just to get to know a bit of what kind of people are here, I wanted to have a bit of hand showing here. So who in this room has never created a plugin? There's a bit of hesitant, is that 3? There's 3 people in the back who put their hands up and took it down really quickly. So I don't know, 10%, 7%? That's pretty interesting. That's awesome. Who here are creating plugins for internal use only? For your own company? Wow, okay. About 40% of people don't like sharing. That's good, that's fine, we'll forgive you. How many people here are building plugins for commercial use? Whoa, sweet. We've got just the agenda for you this week, awesome. The other thing I'm interested in, who's building a plugin to actually integrate with another system? You're not actually extending Jira, you're integrating. Awesome, good, good. So actually, I think our agenda is great. So we have some stuff for newbies. So if you are a newbie, you haven't written a plugin yet, I think take this week to go grab someone in a green shirt, sit them down, and make sure that you leave here Friday having written a plugin, so that we're all on the same level field. So let's just switch gears a bit. I'm going to give you kind of an overview of what's been going on at Atlassian. One of the reasons we're actually in Europe is that these are the 3 first Jira contracts that we sold in March of 2002. They're hanging in our Sydney office. And what's really interesting is the first one was sold to a customer in England. The second one was sold to a customer in Sweden, who's actually sitting here somewhere. Felix, put your hand up. He's back there. So Felix, his name's up on our wall. He bought the second license of Jira. And you can see this happened in March of 2002. So it's been 10 years for us. So it's our 10th year anniversary. We have a lot of recognition for Europe for actually embracing Atlassian, helping us out right from the beginning. And that's why we're in Europe this time. We really want to give Europe a lot of love. They've been supporting us for 10 years. So we have customers all across Europe right now, which is amazing. It turns out that what that means for us, it's about 40% of our business actually happens in Europe. So thanks a lot. It's amazing for a company that's based in Sydney that we have a huge global reach now. So not only in Europe, but we're selling our tools in 136 countries. And what's great for you guys is it means that if you've got that commercial idea of writing a plugin, if you want to write an extension on Jira, you've got a huge customer base all around the world that are anxious to use some of your ideas. So the other thing at Atlassian is we're always trying to build new stuff. And we're always trying to come up with new ideas to actually build new things, and we need help. So we're hiring a bus in April to go around Europe and help us hire 15 awesome, kick-ass engineers. So we're going to come steal some of the European geeks. So if you have any friends, any people who you think are awesome, go on our website, and there's a bus schedule in 4 cities around Europe, and hop on the bus. We're going to tell you a bit about what Australia's like, show you what it's like to immigrate to Australia, and give you a couple of beer in the bus, and do a hardcore interview the next day. So a lot's happened this year at Atlassian. If you've been following us on our blogs and with our product releases, you'll see that there's a bunch that's been actually going on. You have a newspaper on your seats that actually gives you kind of an overview, so I'm not going to go through all of it. But I did want to highlight a couple of key things that we're really proud of this year. You're going to notice a lot's been going on. So a lot of releases, a lot of products. Things are going quicker at Atlassian. We're really keen to bring a lot of products to you. Some of the highlights here is that we actually launched 2 new products this year. What's great about that is Team Calendar and Bonfire are 2 plugins. So Atlassian now is really feeling what it's like to be a plugin developer, so both making our SDK better, making our REST API, making our APIs better, we're really feeling not the pain, but the love of what it's like to actually build on top of our product. So it's an awesome experience for us. The other thing is we have 2 free new plugins as well. So we have Jira Mobile Connect and the Issue Collector. So again, you see a big theme here of Atlassian creating a lot of plugins as well and using our own infrastructure to not put things in the core all the time. We've had 2 acquisitions, so HipChat and SourceTree. Really actually super excited to have these guys join our family. And you can notice a bunch of major releases as well that has happened. So I'll let you guys catch up to this on our blogs, our RSS feeds, and on a newspaper. What I wanted to do is highlight a couple of key things that are probably interesting for you as kind of a plugin developer. So today what I'm going to talk about, and specifically is what we're excited about, is Confluence 4.0 brings a whole new platform of things you can extend. So a whole new editor infrastructure. I want to talk about all the cool things we've been doing to extend Confluence 4.0, and as we've been building on it, how we're doing that with plugins. The second really interesting thing for developer is Jira 5.0 as a platform. So all the REST APIs, all the client libraries in different languages that we're releasing, and all the tools we're actually building ourselves to prove that we do have a good solid API story, and understanding, actually showing you some examples of how we can bring Jira and make it run everywhere in terms of bringing issues into the browser, bringing them to the phone, bringing them to testers, and make sure we have a really solid API story so we can have an awesome continually growing API story around Jira. Not to forget that we're all developers at heart, so we still have some awesome developer tools. So if you haven't tried out SourceTree yet, for Git and Mercurial clients on your Mac, it's a kick-ass DVCS client tool. If you've been tracking Twitter, you'll see people are comparing it and saying it's better than one that GitHub has. It's fully featured. It does everything under the sun, which is awesome. Bitbucket has Git support this year, so if you're writing a plugin and you want to share it with your friends, you want to share it with your colleagues, we've got Git and Mercurial support now. Bamboo's got new Bamboo tasks that can publish onto the plugin exchange automatically. So if you want to automate your plugin deployment cycle, you can actually do it with Bamboo now with tasks that deploy directly to Pack. And of course, we're really excited to have HipChat on board, which again, we don't just buy it for APIs, but they do have an awesome set of APIs that you can extend into. So what's happening with Confluence? How many people have been using Confluence 4.0 here? Yeah, OK. So I'm going to skip over this quickly. There's an awesome editor. There's a bunch of funky things in here. What's awesome is that a lot of this stuff is actually plugin points. So macros, embedded images. There's a lot of new JavaScript APIs in Confluence right now. So we're using a technology called TinyMCE as kind of the open source platform for the editor. And within there's a bunch of interesting plugin points. I'm going to talk about them a bit later. So we're super excited about how Confluence can actually help you and your organizations now create richer content, discover content quickly, and as a plugin developer, it gives you a whole new wealth of tooling that you can build on top of Confluence. Since 4.0 has launched, we've been learning a lot of things about what it's been like for companies to kind of have a different editor experience, and we're continuously looking at making that better. So we've been releasing features like search and replace across the editors, auto-linking and converting of links, image effects, auto-formatting of macros. This is one of my favorite ones, which is you think of having a really simple idea and it going viral. The idea of you can copy and paste a URL now from YouTube, for example. You paste it into the editor, and it turns into the video preview automatically. So think of how many things you can auto-convert. And it's something that's gone viral within Atlassian. Once we installed that on our server and people started using it, when you take it away, people are going, hey, I rely on that now. You go into Gmail, and I paste a link, and I'm like, it's not converting it. This really sucks. So sometimes some of the simplest ideas actually end up being really, really powerful. And it's been great how the Confluence 4.0 editors kind of harness some of that creativity, and we're using it ourselves. Some of the other things that are coming up as well is we're looking at trying to make the whole editing experience really awesome to make sure you can create rich pages. We're putting things like page layouts into Confluence 4.0 or 4.2 that is shipping in early April. This is going to let you create pages that look awesome, and the editing experience is going to be awesome as well. So it's going to have kind of a more WYSIWYG column section formatting editing paradigm to it. So we're really excited about that. The other thing that we're doing in Confluence, what I think is good for plugin developers as well, is although we're creating a lot of content, our tools are being used as the backbone for companies now. So Confluence is being used for 10,000 user deployments at Stanza, at Deutsche Bank, and these guys are creating a lot of content. So when you go write your plugins and you're writing new extensions, make sure you think about how your users are going to be creating things, but also make sure you understand how they're going to be discovering and how are they going to be working with things. So if you're creating a test plugin for Jira, how are people going to discover test cases? How are they going to collaborate with other people? How are they going to make sure they can handle huge number of people who are collaborating? So it's some of these features that we're putting into Confluence ourselves, which are discovery. So how can you bring people into that content and make them actually participate in the conversations? So you'll see things like putting the like button in, popular content, helping people organize how content is laid out. We've implemented a new feature which is really interesting for people who get 500 emails a day, which is a daily summary of emails of things that are happening in Confluence. So we're really excited about this because we're trying to help the fact that our tools are being really popular. So a lot of stuff's going on and it's hard to keep track sometimes. So we're always thinking of ideas of how to understand a bit more about what content is in there and help people discover it. And this is one way that you can do that. So start sending emails out with batched notification of what's going on. And this is coming out in Confluence 4.2. So again, a lot of work in 4.2, summarizing Confluence. In 4.0, a lot of interesting platform opportunities for our plugin developers. And you can see that our cadence is pretty quick on Confluence now. So we've got tons of great ideas, and we're really excited about what's coming out with Confluence. So on the Jira side, we had a huge Jira release of 5.0, probably about a month ago now. In Jira, there's three main categories of problems that we've been trying to solve. The first one is, again, that same theme of discovery, trying to connect people, trying to make it easy for our customers to actually come into Jira, so you can share issues with people, you can mention them, so you can kind of bring them into the conversation. The other thing is integrating applications. Now, I'm not going to talk about this in a great deal. We've got Brian here from the Jira team who's going to go into a whole hour of all the APIs, all the extensibility options, what it's like to actually use the new Jira 5.0 REST API and Java API. But we're really excited about all the integration opportunities this is going to provide. And the third thing in Jira 5 that you're going to see is, our vision is really we want to bring issues to your customers. And your customers means that we want to, we recognize that Jira is kind of the backbone of development teams and product teams, but you're also trying to connect Jira with your customers. So people who are using your apps you're building, people who have to come in and log bugs against you and make sure that's a really easy experience as well. So creating issues is something we're really keen on. So things like making it quicker to create issues from your mobile device, making it easier for testers on your team to create issues. And hopefully this inspires you a bit about ways that we haven't thought of that you can use some of our API to bring issues and to connect your teams with whatever problems you're trying to solve on top of Jira. So some of the two other kind of APIs we've been building in Jira are things like activity streams. So activity streams have always been part of Jira, but it's kind of been very, very enclosed. And what we're doing now in the spirit of kind of opening up Jira as a platform is making a lot of the tools that we had in Jira available from third parties. So activity streams is a way that you can push content into Jira. So you can push content and say, I've updated a test case in HP Quality Center or in my time tracking system, and I want to have that be part of the activity stream in Jira. So there's APIs for doing that. The same thing is it's possible now to actually push out and have link Jira content to content outside of Jira in a very, very simple way. I'm actually going to show you a couple of API snippets a bit later, but we've made this super simple. Like anybody can do this. Everybody should leave this week having actually implemented one of these two things. It's really just a simple REST API with some JSON. But the idea here is make it easy for you to bring some content into Jira that's linking outside. So for example, again, a test case or a time tracking or maybe a Confluence page as well, and make that content linkable and reachable and navigable quickly from Jira. So again, you're going to see some integration that we've been building. Whoops, a bit too quickly here. So a bunch of integrations. So for those people who are here to build integrations, we have tons of really cool examples of how to do that now. And again, come to Brian's session a bit later. He's going to talk about actually in detail how to make all these things happen. But we're really keen to see Jira be the center of a lot of dev teams, and we're inclusive now. We understand that a lot of teams are using other tools, and that we want to bring some of this into Jira. So HipChat. Anybody here used HipChat before? A couple. Okay, that's actually a bit more than at Unite, which is awesome. Now HipChat's gone a bit viral in Atlassian. So it has a bit of the same business model as Atlassian had, which is it's building chat tools, real-time chat tools for businesses, so people who work on teams together. So it's very team-oriented. It means you can go into a chat room and you can see all the history of your team. You can kind of get into a conversation without losing context. It's focused for small teams, so it's not about one-to-one communication as much as getting a group of people together and communicating. But what we're really excited about as well is that it's a really interesting integration platform. So we've released on Plugin Exchange a couple of integrations with Jira, Bamboo, Confluence, which actually brings some of the activity you're working on with your team into your chat room, which means your team's working, they're distributed, they're working on something together, and you want to actually bring some of the artifacts into your conversations, things that are important. So for example, imagine that a build's broken. So we have an extension now in Bamboo that you can have a build broken notification directly into your chat room. So someone could say, hey, I'm going to grab this build, I'm going to keep working on it. So we're really excited about kind of experimenting what it means to bring the artifacts that teams are working on into the place that you're working on with it. And we know that people chat. We know that people are in Confluence creating content. We know that you're in Jira. So we want to really bring this together. We think that HipChat's a great part of our family because we think a team that is working together needs some real-time communication. And we want to bring this a step further and see what it means to actually bring the team into real-time communication and integrate them all together. So since HipChat was acquired, we've had a steady viral adoption of HipChat within Atlassian. I think there's something like 80 chat rooms right now of teams getting together. Some of them are long-lived. We have a Atlas Camp room that came up. Someone shows up. We have an Atlas Camp room. We all discuss where we're going to go for lunch. We post pictures. We exchange slides on that. And some of those rooms go away. Some of them are persistent. So some teams have rooms for features. Feature X. We want to collaborate together. And then all the specifications gets transferred into Confluence, but the real-time kind of stand-up conversations are happening in HipChat. So we're super excited about this. Go check out their API page if you want to write some plugins. They've got an awesome API. Does anybody know what this icon is like? There's a pop quiz. What's this icon mean? We've got tons of icons at Atlassian, so I'm wondering if anybody's memorized them yet. So this is the App Store icon for Plugin Exchange. And besides our products, we've been really taking the ecosystem super seriously. You'll notice that from the beginning of Atlassian's days, we've been continuously investing into our ecosystem, which is enabling developers and users to extend our products as much as they can. And you can see that this started in 2003 with the plugin framework. We added the plugin SDK a bit later. We added in a mechanism for you to share plugins. So the plugin exchange came in, I think in 2009. What's really interesting here is we're picking up the cadence. So you can see we're really investing. We're taking the ecosystem really seriously. And we're really excited. The ecosystem in Europe is really rocking. So what does a increasing cadence in the ecosystem look like? Well, we have 100 new developers registering on the plugin exchange every month. So we're tracking people who are downloading the SDK for the first time, who are writing plugins. So there's a lot of new people writing plugins, which we find is really exciting. It means that your customers are going to have new options, new tools to build. The other thing as well is that Atlassian, we're not experts in every domain that everything teams need. And it's really exciting that people are coming and using our platform for doing that. We have over 900 plugins available on the plugin exchange. And there's probably 60% more of all those people who don't like sharing, who put up their hands earlier, who have plugins behind the Iron Curtain, as you can say. But what's exciting about this number, what I'm really excited is when we look at big companies, so Atlassian's trying to, we're thinking big. We think we're solving problems that people really like to have solved. And Salesforce is an example of a company who's solving the sales problem. They have an app store, they have an ecosystem, and in their app store, they have 1,400 plugins, which we're actually catching up really quickly. So our goal is we want to beat Salesforce. This time next year, I want us to beat Salesforce in our ecosystem, and it's something we can do. We have 3 million downloads of plugins, so people are actually, not only are developers joining the community, but people are actually downloading more and more stuff as we're going as well. And this is something we really want to help you with. What does it mean as well? It means that our average customer has around 11 add-ons or plugins installed in their Jira or Confluence instance. So people are really depending on the things that you are writing to run their business. And we're really making it easy for them to do that. So again, we're super excited in the ecosystem. and we're continually investing. In days like this, coming to Europe, flying a bunch of Atlassians over really to make sure that we have an awesome platform for you guys to build stuff on. Now, when we think about what it means to actually build things, we think of like the circle of life of a plugin developer. So this is kind of like the experience that each one of you are going to go through as you start and build things on Atlassian. And in the past, this kind of maybe felt like I have to start to build something. Crap, where do I start? And then it's like, hey, I want to share it. So I'm kind of excited. I want to share my plugin with someone. So I kind of get excited. I send someone an email. And then I go, oh, shit, Atlassian released another version. How do I update my plugin? How do I keep it up to date? And then I've got to figure out how to sell it. So I'm going to go, shit, I've got to figure out how to sell this thing now. How am I going to license it? How do I market it? How do I make people aware that it's going on? So this whole cycle of life of what it's like to be a plugin developer, we're trying to make this seamless. So we're trying to bring out the pain points in each one of these phases. And what you're going to see today with the presentations is we're going to really touch on what we've done in each one of these categories to make your lives a bit easier, to make it a bit easier to get started, to make it a bit easier to share your plugin with others, make it a bit easier for you to actually, and enjoyable to update your plugin when a release to Jira or Confluence has come out, and make it a bit easier for you to sell your plugins and make it easier as a consumer of purchasing and for you guys to actually get your plugins and make them available to everybody. So we've been busy in each one of these categories over the last year, and I want to give you kind of a highlight of things that we've done in each one of these categories to help you. So on the first side is for building, we've had a huge amount of feedback that people just want examples. They want code snippets, you want tutorials, you want to find out how to get started. I don't want to save a whole week to figure out how to write a plugin. So we released developer.atlassian.com at Atlas Camp in the US, because this was the #1 feedback we had from people. So we basically built a whole site dedicated for you guys with content, with browsers. What's great about this site is it's built on Confluence. It's running with the Zen Foundation plugin, which is a plugin from Steptone Technologies, who's here today. And it's helping plugin developers. So it's almost like a huge meta site. It's a Confluence instance running plugins for plugin developers. So it's an awesome, dog foodie instance for us. We've put a lot of effort in this. In the last year, we've had a huge number of tutorials. You'll notice that we're a lot more vigilant in terms of posting new content. So when we have things like Jira 5 that was released, we had examples on how to use the REST API. Remote issue linking examples were up there. The Streams API was up there. So we're really trying to make this a crown jewel for helping you guys build things. Something else that shipped that people are maybe not hugely aware of, but we had a demo at Atlas Camp in the US from Rich Mandeling, who's on our developer relations team, about an easier in-app way of actually discovering the REST API. So we bundled this within Jira, and it's called a developer toolbox. And what this does is when you're running a Jira instance and you're developing your plugin, it basically gives an in-app developer toolbox for tools that are useful for you when you're writing your plugin. So there's an API browser, there's a link to the checkup page, there's a link to some OSGI debug information. So we've bundled this and made it part of the SDK. What's great is, again, this was presented as at Atlas Camp last year. So I'm really looking forward to some of your lightning talks. Maybe one of your ideas are going to get bundled in the SDK next year. So the other thing that we got a huge amount of feedback on, which was great, is the fast dev. So this is a plugin development environment which auto-reloads, auto-compiles, and makes the development cycle a lot easier for plugins. So there's some videos on developer.atlassian.com, and what this lets you do is basically edit your plugin in your IDE, and you can debug your plugin in the browser. So let's say you're building a Jira extension, and you can just go onto the fast dev, reload your page automatically, and it's going to go through the compile, build, run tests, and then automatically upload and make the jar available to the web app. So you don't have to restart the app all the time. And everybody at Atlassian uses this now in our development cycle, so it's available for you guys as well. So let me just take you on a quick tour of what's in Confluence 4.0 around the editor, what kind of ideas you should be thinking about how you can extend it. So in the grand scheme of things, everything is extendable now. So everything you see in the editor is really something you can plug into. So one example is the formatting menu is a toolbar. It interacts with TinyMCE, which is the technology that's at the base of the editor. So if you really want to extend the editor, get to know a bit about how TinyMCE works. You're going to have to learn a bit more JavaScript probably than usual, but it's all pretty fun stuff. And it's all done as web items. So we're taking some of the same ideas about extensibility that we've been using in the Java space, and we're making them available in a lot of the other extensibility items we have. So the editor toolbar is one place. You can insert your macros into the insert menu. So this is a place that a lot of people are adding new functionality to Confluence, new types of macros. So imagine that you're building again, I'll take the example of a test tool, and you want to embed a test case into Confluence, then you can write a macro. You can have the macro discoverable, and it's all done via the web item as well. One of the things that makes content in Confluence really rich is having those preview pages. So we've kind of redesigned how these work, so we actually have a lot richer experience in terms of the editing and the previewing cycle in Confluence. So you can write your own preview pages. So you can make your content really come to life in Confluence if you're extending Confluence with new content. And again, these can be applied optionally as well. So we've seen a lot of FedExes and a lot of experiments in Atlassian of people extending the macros. One interesting story is we hired 15 new grads at a university in Sydney, and we had a mini FedEx for the new grads. And it was interesting to see what new students do first when they want to extend our products. And it seems like Confluence seems to be one of the easiest products to extend. And the winner was actually someone who wrote a LaTeX math macro for Confluence. So you can type in some mathematical formulas. It converts it to an image of the mathematical formula. And he did it with all macro extensions and all the editor extensions. They did it in 24 hours. They published it to the plugin exchange. And they had one customer. So a customer actually sent him a personal email and said, hey, we saw your math macro on Pack. We want to use it. When's it going to be stable? So again, that was that was kind of an accelerated cycle of build to release to sell and getting feedback for one of our students in our office, which was awesome. So macros are great. We're really looking forward to see what people are going to come up with here. What's great with macros is you have an additional toolbar that comes with macros, which gives you an even richer editing experience. So you can click on your macro placeholder, and you can extend what kind of editing capabilities you have for your macro. So the simplest example we have is the status macro in Confluence. So you can click on the macro, and you can change its color really quickly. But you can do a bunch of different things. Like for the profile, you can jump directly to the profile. So we have this whole kind of editing extensibility experience around adding content to Confluence. The same thing around the toolbar that appears when you're editing your macro placeholder as well. So again, a huge amount of extensibility options available in Confluence. And you'll just have to learn a bit of JavaScript, but it's not too bad. I was able to do it last night. I added some auto convert links, so it's doable if I can do it. One of the things that we're doing as well is we're trying to make it easy for people to not take their hands off the keyboard in Confluence. So we've added capability so that you can actually create macros without having to go to the menus a lot. So this is another extension point where you can kind of add your language of, how can people create your macros without taking their hands off the keyboard? So can they add, Jira : issue key / something else so that your macro creation could be easy. So whenever you're creating macros, think of a lot of us at Atlassian and a lot of your customers want to do things fast. So we want to keep our hands on the keyboard, make sure your macros make us do things fast in Confluence. You can see some of the examples of what it looks like as well. So one of my favorite features, that was probably the easiest one to implement in Confluence, is the auto-convert. Here's some of the examples. You can paste the text at the top, and it turns into a video. You paste the text, the JQL text at the top, it turns into a list of issues. So this is like an unlimited set of things that you can be doing in Confluence. We've got an awesome tutorial at the top. Again, we're trying to make our tutorials appear on developers.atlassian.com as soon as the features are. So I started to write one last night just to get a feel of what it was like. And I downloaded the Confluence source code. I was looking at the source code, and I go, hey, I should just Google auto-convert. I'm not expecting there to be a whole tutorial on DAC, but it turns out that there was actually a tutorial on DAC, and I just followed the instructions, and I was done in half an hour. So again, I'm really looking forward to see people create some awesome auto-convert ideas. So a summary of Confluence: go crazy, go override, and extend Confluence. And we're really looking forward to seeing some of your ideas come to life. So Jira 5.0 shipped, and the big theme in 5.0 was really around APIs. And one of the problem points in that developer cycle was when we update Jira, it's causing a lot of pain. People have 11 plugins on average installed behind a firewall. with your products, and we want to make it easier for you to actually, for our customers to upgrade, and we want to make it easier for you to actually not have to spend a couple weeks upgrading our plugins. So in Jira 5.0, there's a huge push on making the APIs stable, on separating out which APIs are public, which ones aren't, and then starting the process of understanding how we can actually make it easier for our developer ecosystem to keep up with what we're doing and give us feedback. So Brian's going to go into a whole hour of what we've done here. So I'm going to let Brian get into the details. But just to let you know, it's something we're taking really seriously now, because as the ecosystem grows, we want to make sure that you don't have a huge amount of friction keeping your plugins up to date, and we're a lot more transparent about what it means to build on our platform. Actually, I just went. So this is an example of what it's like to post a remote issue link. So this is what remote issue links look like in Jira. So this is very, very simple but very rich integration. So you can have an icon, you can have some status shown in the link, and you can link to anything outside of Jira. And the way you do that is a simple HTTP request with some with some JSON, and you can kind of build up. So we're building our APIs now to have a very, very simple mode. So if you want to get in and add a link to Jira, and you don't want all the fancy status updating, and maybe don't want to make the link live, then you can actually just put your link in. And you can kind of opt into some of the more advanced API capabilities as you want. But the simple ones are really simple. And you'll see on developer.atlassian.com, we've split out simple cases to, OK, I want to opt into something a bit more complicated. But really trying to make it easy. There's, 5 lines of JSON. The same thing is true around the activity feeds. So as activity feeds come in, and you can see things that your team's working on outside of Jira, things like in time tracking, in Bonfire, in Tempo, you can all see that aggregated information come in. And again, very simple API to do this. We're using the activity stream MS specification for JSON. This is a simple example. There's actually, again, there's more complicated API for you to actually post to the activity stream with more interactivity. You can actually have things editable. But the simple case is we're trying to make it really simple. So remote issues and activity streams are just a couple of the examples of the better integration that we've been adding into Jira, that we've been making it easier for you to integrate, and we really want to make this experience really easy for you. We've delivered a stable API. We want to make that forward compatible, so that when we release 5.1 and all subsequent releases until we release 6.0, that the upgrade cost is low. So we're really keen on making that a reality. And we're going to learn as we go. I mean, you can imagine the surface area of API in Jira was huge. There's a lot of API. There's a lot of things you can do. We did that on purpose when we released Jira, because we wanted to kind of unleash the creativity of our users, because it was hard for us to predict what people are going to do. So we're going to have to evolve these APIs as we go with you and understand, do you need more, a bit less, and what kind of shape. But we're taking this really seriously now. This is an example of some of the REST API for fetching an issue, for example. Very simple. So after all this has been done, I just want to say thanks, because we've been reaching out to all of you. I've probably half this room has had Brian Rollins personally contact at some point to say, hey guys, if you updated your Jira 5 plugin, give us some feedback. And the outcome of that has been really amazing, which is we had 100 plugins compatible with Jira 5.0 when we shipped, which is 100 more than were compatible with 4.4 when we shipped. So it was a good improvement. And there's tons of more things that we're doing in terms of helping you build things. So let's move on to the share section. What are we doing to help you share your work? So for the half the room who do actually like sharing things, we care about sharing in a huge way. So after this session, we're actually going to have 2 hours this afternoon about what it means to share things. So I'm just going to give you a sneak peek. We've been working a lot on making our plugin exchange faster, easier to search, easier for you to market your plugins, easier for you to actually manage and have people discover your plugins. So we've been doing a lot of work there. The plugin exchange now is 4 times faster. So when you actually hit the front page, it used to take about 4 seconds to load. It's 1 second now. When you search things, we've improved the search so people can find things a lot easier. And you actually noticed last night at midnight, we released a new version of the plugin exchange in preparation for all this fun work we're doing with making it easier for you to share and get your plugins in front of people. You notice as well that in UPM, so UPM is the Universal Plugin Manager, which is the other side of how your customers get access to the things that you're sharing with them. We've been doing a lot of work in the UPM to make it easier for UPM to auto-update. So as we make changes in UPM to make it easier for people to discover your plugins, to install them, to evaluate them, UPM can now actually auto-update itself, which means that we can push updates to UPM, and your customers can get updates to them as well. So the UPM is going to be updated a lot more often, so we can bring awesome discoverability features to your customers. So this means, what this means is faster upgrades. Your plugins are going to get upgraded quicker as well, and we can bring new discoverability features to our customers a lot easier. You notice some new buttons up here. I'll let Daniel and Jonathan talk about those a bit later. So in terms of updating, how easy is it for you to update your plugin? So again, we talked about APIs. There's something else that we actually launched last year, which we're still experimenting with. But we've had over 600 plugin developers use the plugin checkup tool, which is basically a dedicated website where you can go and upload your jar file for your plugin, and we're going to do a bit of static analysis on it, and we're going to kind of categorize the type of API calls you're making to give you an idea before setting up your IDE, doing a full compile and build cycle, what kind of things are you calling. What we'd like to do is, this is kind of work in progress still. We'd love it if you're trying this out to give us some feedback in terms of, are there any APIs that you're calling that you think should have been marked as API? Is there anything here that's surprising you? Because we want to make it really easy for you to actually understand where what the upgrade cost is going to be for your plugin. We imagine in the future integrating this into the plugin exchange so we can automatically tell you if you uploaded a plugin. We can do some magic and say, hey, by the way, send you an email. You know what? There's a new version of Jira coming out, and you're going to have a bit of work. Why don't you go see some documentation? So we really think that the checkup tool could be a really good enabler for us to make your lives a lot easier. It's still kind of in beta mode, but try it out and give us some feedback. The other thing that's amazing in terms of helping you update your plugins is on answers.atlassian.com. If you actually look at the number of activity not related to product use, but related to people developing things on our products, there's a huge amount of conversations happening. So over 735 Confluence development conversations happening. So probably roughly half of every customer usage question are developers asking questions about extensibility and troubleshooting, building a plugin. So go see Answers as well. We've integrated Answers into developer.atlassian.com. So when you're in developers.atlassian.com and you're looking at a documentation page, we actually have a plugin that goes on to Answers and shows you related questions as well. So definitely do use the Answers. We're trying to make it easier for you to connect outside of these Atlas camps, and this is an awesome place to do that. So on the selling side, this is where we're really excited this year. If you think of what the experience was like before, as a plugin developer, once you're really excited, you got your plugin, you've demoed to your parents, your mom, your dad, everybody's seen your plugin, and you want more people to see it. We've made that progress or that process a bit difficult. So if you decide you want to start selling it, you have to think about licensing. You have to think about how people are going to purchase it. You're going to have to think about marketing. You're going to have to think about drafting up an end user license agreement for your customers. You're going to basically have to think about a lot of things which aren't related to your specialty, which is building a plugin, knowing what kind of problem you want to solve. So what we're really keen about is announcing the beta of the Atlassian Marketplace at Atlas Camp right now. And we're really excited about the Marketplace because we think it's really closing the loop in terms of helping both the users of our products have access to all the fun stuff that you're building. So you can see all the changes we're doing in UPM, make that friction point go away. And what this means is licensing is going to be easier. So we're going to take care of one single license that our end users can use. We're going to make it a unified purchasing experience within the apps so that your customers can actually access, discover and install and buy and evaluate all within the UPM and all within a couple of very simple places. And the friction here is going to be removed. I mean, one of the success factors of Atlassian is removing the friction for people trying our stuff out and making the product speak for themselves. So we want to make your plugins speak for themselves so your customers can have them installed and evaluated in one click. And again, those monthly invoices, it turns out Atlassian, we're really, really good at chasing up people to have them renew our software. We want to make sure that we pass some of that 10 years of experience of actually running a software business and making it a lot easier for you guys to actually concentrate on the business. We can handle renewals for you, payments, and all that business stuff that we've been doing for 10 years. So there's a huge amount of stuff to come in this space. Right after this, Daniel and Jonathan are going to go into all the details here. Just to say we're super excited. We actually have a waiting list of people at Atlas Camp this week who are looking to get into the marketplace. So I think there might be, I don't know if there's a waiting list. Is there any room left? Not this time. Okay, so maybe next time. But got a lot of people are really excited. So we're going to bring a couple of people through in the next 2 days to kind of experiment what it's like to post plugins, what it's like to have the whole experience of getting plugins added to the marketplace. So hopefully what we're trying to do here is remove the crap experience of going through this whole cycle, and we're really excited in making sure that we've removed the friction point around this whole cycle. We think that we're in a good shot. It's really exciting. We've been doing this for 8 years now, and we hope that project managers and your bosses can start writing plugins as well and maybe get them posted. So we're always investing in making sure this is a better experience. So the next 2 days are going to be filled with topics that range around this. If you're a newbie and you haven't written a plugin, again, just a reminder that sometimes this build phase can be a bit intimidating. So just go grab someone in a green shirt and make sure you don't leave the next 2 days without having written a plugin and understanding how it works, and make sure that this build phase is really easy. So again, get the most out of Atlas Camp for the next couple of days. Networking is really important. So we didn't put people's companies on the name sheets, but go out and go ask what people are doing. Go ask if there's any synergies with plugins that you're writing, if there's customers. We really want to make sure that you guys get a lot out of this Atlas Camp experience, and we're all here to serve you. So thanks a lot for coming here, for traveling, and we're really excited to see all the fun plugins that you're going to write. So thanks a lot.